Hey guys, I'm back, and this is a different view for a knife review, but I feel that at least in the beginning, the facial expressions are going to be important when looking at this knife. So I have given you a little teaser about this guy already. This was sent to me direct by Kubey, okay? They, one of their representatives that I've worked with before asked if I would be interested in taking a look at this. And I gotta start off by saying, if they had not offered for this, this is not the kind of thing that I probably would have spent money on, that I would have bought. Just looking at it, and we've talked about the whole thing about a knife has to look right. You've got to be attracted to it in some way. And we've talked about subscription boxes, and one of the big draws to me is like discovering things that I might not otherwise have. And Kubey offering a chance for me to review this guy right here, which is, by the way, the KU218. They call it the Shark. This is definitely something that I would not have otherwise picked up. And this is not a blade shape that I probably would have bought on my own. But so in all honesty, I've been holding on to this for a few days now, several days, and I still don't know exactly what I make of it. When I see this, two thoughts enter my mind. The first is, I feel like Predator has dropped his knife and he's off in the woods somewhere, and I'm waiting to hear this. He's coming to claim it back and get it from me. The other scenario in my head is that there is a brave Klingon warrior coming of age who needs this to fight a ceremonial battle. And in fact, I was calling this the Klingon battle cruiser the other day because it's just so damn big. We have almost a 9-inch blade on this thing. Now, I know that right away, this shape is going to really excite some people, and it's really going to turn some people off. And to be totally honest with you, I have no idea where I'm at with this thing. This is the kind of thing that you've got to hold in your hand and experience. It is, there are some elements of this thing that I can look at and say, I could get it. I can see how this could have some practical application. And then I look at the overall shape of this and I'm like, I can't see myself carrying this at all. But then I can. So we're gonna look at this thing overall and talk about it. And what I'm gonna ask from you guys throughout this video, but when we're all done, is I want to know from you folks, from the fine people that view these videos, when we do the next, because this is going to be part 1 of 2, what do you want to see me do with this? What kinds of actual testing? I'm going to do the usual. We're going to cut money. We're going to cut a little 550 cord. We're going to talk about the features. But I'm definitely going to do a follow-up on this, like soon, like in the next few days, as soon as I get input from you guys. Looking, and keep in mind the shape of this thing. So basically, like, it could sit like this, with this straight edge flush against a surface. What kind of tests do you guys want to see me put this blade through? And that, I'm not saying, I'm not promising to do every suggestion or request, but we'll do as much as we can, because to tell you the truth, I don't know how to even come at this thing. It's somebody had mentioned on the Memorial Day live stream where I first kind of showed it off, that they said Gil Hibbins. If you don't know who Gil Hibbins is, he's a epic designer who does a lot of fantasy type blades. And that's the first thing I had mentioned to somebody when I took this out. I was like, it looks like Gil Hibbins was here, with just the shape. So anyway, keep that in mind. What kinds of things do you guys think you want to see done with this in an actual test? But now let's switch focus. Let's take a look at this thing. Now, why did I not properly unbox it the way I normally do? Because UPS destroyed this thing. The box was basically shredded up. It still came wrapped in plastic and everything. But so, yes, I have looked at it beforehand and taken and took it out of the box because the box was just crushed. But it came in a large standard black Kubey fixed blade box, but the knife was in perfect shape. So taking a look at it, we've got a large Marge slab of D2 steel. I mean, this whole thing is D2. Look at how thick that is. And I mean, if you look, you've got that entire thickness almost straight down to the point. So I'm guessing that this thing does have some strength. However, I'm wondering how well that little point, that little tip will hold up to some different uses. Now, also notice the shininess to it. So I'm suspecting that this has a lacquer coat on it. Now, we've got a beautiful two-tone finish. We've got the grind lines and then the satin finish. But because this is D2 and because it's a bare metal finish, the look of that shininess leads me to believe that there's a little lacquer coat on here, which is neither here nor there. It's a smart way to keep this a little bit more corrosion resistant until you use it and to give it a shiny look. That lacquer coat probably wears off as we use it, but lots of companies that give you a bare metal carbon steel blade will put a little bit of a lacquer coat on it to help it stay rust resistant, corrosion resistant, you know, at first, especially in shipping and storage and stuff. It is, you know, I feel like, and I'd have to check it out, I feel like you've got a hollow grind on this recurve section, but just a flat saber grind on the main straight edge section there. And interesting, again, like I said, so you can actually, almost like chef knife style, you can lay this on a flat edge and not hit your fingers to do chopping and all sorts of stuff like that. With this fine point here, you can actually, so you can choke up a bit. Now, you're not going to get very close to that tip, but you do have a little bit of extra control to do some fine work with that point. Basically, you've got a chopper and you've got a slicer in this thing. Now, we're talking practicality purposes. How much extra, you know, working edge do you get from this recurve section here? You know, that you don't get, and let's face it, it's basically it's like a modified Warncliffe with a recurve in it. I mean, that's really, if we're gonna identify blade shapes, that's kind of what we got there. Weight is good. It's got weight to it. It does have weight to it, but it is fairly well balanced throughout, you know. I do have some issues that I noticed straight off. If you take a look at the scales here, there are some, they're not quite 90-degree edges, but they're harder than I'd like. I think they could be rounded off a little bit. And on this joint right here, I feel that. And using this hard use over time, you're gonna feel that. Now, this is something that's easily remedied on your own with a little bit of sandpaper, and just round that out. And then right there, where the blade kind of juts out from the scale a little bit, if you're choking up on it, you definitely feel that too. You know, now that, again, could be the size of my hands. That could be a me problem. But if I was going to carry this and use it in any hard use capacity, I would definitely just take some sandpaper and buff down that edge a little bit. But other than that, it's a pretty comfortable handle. I mean, obviously well indexed with this giant blade here, and you do get fairly good control over the edge. Sorry if I keep reflecting light into the camera. I'm definitely reflecting it straight into my eyes as I do this. So you have a lanyard hole and you've got a tie down hole, and you could use those in conjunction if you wanted to connect this to a stick or a pole or something to make a spear, and then it absolutely looks like a Predator weapon from the movie. I mean, just to ease back and give you like a whole view, this thing is just, it has the look of, like, I expect to see this in some kind of movie where they're heavy on the knife martial arts, you know what I mean? And I feel like Doug Marcaida is the only human being who should be wielding this. Only he should do his moves with this thing. I mean, it looks frightening. Let's get this out of the way. That is beautiful. I can't feel that at all on the straight. Oops, there, hold on. On the straight edge part. And now let's do a little recurve area. The recurve, it's hard to keep it on the recurve, but Yeah. So it does come right out of the box, ready for whatever. I haven't done a 550 chord slice in a long time as part of the testing, but I'm curious with these two different edge profiles, how, you know. So let's start here. And that was like absolutely nothing, and super clean cuts on there. And let's try this straight edge. Not quite as clean, but also very, I mean, like nothing. So you're getting a very usable blade right out of the box. So we've got to address the elephant that's always in the room when we've got a D2 blade. Yes, this thing is going to require a little TLC. You're going to have to keep it clean, wipe it down. But what I try to impress upon people that hate D2 for some reason is that while it does require a little bit of, you know, preventative maintenance sometimes, D2 holds an edge like nobody's business. It is a great steal for an outdoors knife because it can go so long in between sharpenings and in between you know, edge maintenance. All you got to do, and it's not that complicated. People are like, I don't want to have to take care of it, blah, blah. All you got to do is wipe it down at the end of the day and keep it relatively dry. Surface rust is so easy to get off if it happens to start showing up. A little bit of WD-40, and sometimes just WD-40 and a rag is enough to get rid of surface rust. If you've got, I just reflect that light right in my eyes again. If it doesn't come off with that, just a little green scrubby pad is all it takes most of the time. And there are all sorts of products out there like Tough Glide, Liberty Oil, that you can just wipe a blade down with. Hell, you can, you know, olive oil. You can just get a really thin coat if you're going to store the blade for a while. Mineral oil. And that will keep it from getting corrosion and rusty when you put it away for a little bit. So, the sheath is just standard, you know, Kydex. It's got some attachments. You can move this around. This, I thought that this would rotate at first, but I guess it doesn't. Yeah, but it's got a positive retention thing there, so it doesn't just flop around. But I mean, it's going to go on your belt, and it's going to stay there. Pretty good retention there, but not hard to draw it out if you need it. It's got a nice solid snap, and not too rattly either. So overall, now this runs about 80, somewhere 85, between $85 and $90. You know, I haven't done a whole lot of searching, but I feel like in a chop, it would give you good leverage. But, you know, I would, again, I'm just, the geometry of it, I'd be afraid that in a chop, I would follow through and hit that tip on something, and that would be the end of my tip right there. Which wouldn't actually be the end of the world now that I think about it, because, you know, I'm following this down the road or down the rabbit hole. So if that tip did break, not that I'd want it to, because you lose that fine edge tip, that would give me the opportunity to reprofile it a little bit more round, which would actually be more survivable in a chopping kind of environment. But the balance on it for chopping is actually really good. Like, this just feels natural. I still want to do something about those scales there. I'm not going to do the ratings on this until we finish part 2, but this is a great, I mean, if you were going to, it being D2, you know, especially, great candidate for doing a really nice Cerakote job on it. You can make this look however you want. Just such a big, open, canvasy slab of D2. I mean, huge piece of metal in your hand. But, you know, the more I have it, the more it kind of grows on me. Like I said in the beginning, it's nothing I would spend money on. Like, if I saw it, you know, on a shelf, I would go right past it just looking at the design and think, like, what is that dragon killer science fiction-y, you know, kind of thing. But in your hand, the more you kind of play with it, the better it feels. I can't believe I just said that. Go ahead and run with that one. Somebody should make a compilation of the dirtiest unintentional things I've said in videos. But yes, when it's in your hand, the more you play with it, the better it feels. It has that really nice symmetry and balance and weight and everything. So here's what I want to hear from you guys. So if we're going to do a hard use kind of test on this thing, and again, with this crazy blade, I'm not sure what to do. What would you want to see it do? What kinds of things do you want to see this thing do? Now, think about all the things I've done in other hard use tests. Cutting through soda cans. I'm not going to stab this thing into the ground because this rocky soil, we will lose that tip. I know we will. But cardboard, slicing, batoning. We're going to do some batoning through wood with this thing. We're going to. Debarking, just chopping, into wood to see edge retention and how the blade holds up. What other kind of stuff do we do? I mean, you name it. You tell me what you want to see this thing do. 20-foot paracord slicing on the surfaces to see how it holds up. Whatever. You guys let me know what you want to see me do to this blade. And we'll let it go, a few days, because I really want to get this video done. I want to mess with this so bad. If we don't get a whole lot of suggestions, we can do everything with it. We'll do everything with it. But if I can't do everything, what I'll do is if there's like the same thing requested multiple times, surely we'll do that. And then we'll just see what we can roll into it. But it is such a, I don't know, it's like, how practical is this thing? Dave was commenting like tactical in the woods food prep, and I can see that as like the world's most predator, like Klingon battle cruiser kitchen knife. We could do that too. Maybe we'll do some food prep with it too. I don't know. What do you guys want to see? Tell me what you want to see so I can do it for you, so that we can test this thing out fully. Kubey I normally test out. I love their folding knives. I do, and I carry them often. Kubey has some pretty cool fixed blades, and there's a kukri, a fixed blade kukri style I want to check out after this. Look, check it out. I will post a link to this if you're interested. I mean, if you want to just go check it out now at the Kubey store, you can, and that link will be in the video description. But I'll also put that same link up in the video description after we do the testing on this, so you can see. But there's just a feeling of power holding this thing. Yeah, so anyway guys, now it's your turn. Let me know what you think of this knife, what your first impressions are. If you have any predictions of how it's going to perform in whatever tests we do as well, throw that in there, and then we'll go back and kind of look at this and what you guys said, as we do the testing on it. I keep having all these mixed feelings. Like, it feels good to hold, but then I look at it and I hear that Star Trek fight music, dun 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 dun, in my head as I'm holding it. So anyway guys, all right, let's get to this. Let's make this happen. All right. So in the meantime, I got two other Kubeys to look at for your folders, and I got a lot of stuff. I got a lot of stuff arriving this week. So remember that you are all absolutely awesome. I appreciate every single one of you, and I will be back, and this will be back real soon.